speaker is Richie Venton. Yes, we love it in the front. Now, Richie is originally from Northern Ireland and is now living in Glasgow and is the Scottish Party National Trade Union Organiser. A lifelong socialist and trade unionist, Richie's been described as being at the head of the mass movement in the 1980s, Liverpool, which actually defeated Thatcher. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Richie.
Friends and comrades in the struggle for independence, the Scottish Socialist Party is proud to have been the socialist wing of the independence movement for the past 25 years, and we believe that workers, trade unionists, young people, pensioners, the unemployed and others on benefit all need to be shut of the rule and ruin of this country by a Tory government that never got a majority for the last 69 years in Scottish elections. The working class majority of the population, in all its glorious diversity of colours and creeds and genders and countries of origin, need to see independence as a route to change, fundamental change, socialist change to the benefit of the millions and not the millionaires. The benefit of the proverbial butchers, bakers and candlestick makers, and not to the benefit of the 20 families in Scotland that own more combined wealth than 1.7 million of our people in this country. Our goal of an independent socialist Scotland is to enforce a radical, fundamental and irreversible transfer of wealth and power away from the rich to the rest of us through measures that immediately match people's needs. Measures like a minimum wage in today's money of £15 an hour for everybody over 16, with equal pay for women. Measures like a 4-day week for 5 days pay as a first step to harness the marvels of science, to liberate the working class from drudgery and free them up to run society. We want voluntary retirement at the age of 55 instead of being compulsory into working for a pittance till you drop. We want a society free of poverty, pollution and social isolation by taking all forms of public transport into public ownership and using the wealth freed up from people like the Easdale brothers, 1.5 times over billionaires who own McGill's, and using that wealth ripped off from the passengers to provide free public transport for people of all ages as a means of combating poverty and pollution. To drag Scotland into the 21st century on fleets of clean green buses, trains, subways and ferries in order to create tens of thousands of jobs in the process. We want a Scotland that ends the situation where Grangemouth workers are fearful for their jobs, for green wind farm jobs have collapsed by 4,000 in the last year. A Scotland where retired ex-miners, North Sea oil workers, shipyard workers, nurses, in fact 1 million households shiver through the winters whilst the fossil capitalists in BP, Shell, Ineos and others rake in billions in profit by ripping us off. We want an end to that. We want a Scotland with democratic public ownership of all forms of energy to ensure a rapid transition to green energy production led by workers in the industry themselves, who are the experts after all. We want to provide clean, green, affordable energy to homes and to retrofit every home free of charge, creating an estimated 70,000 jobs in the process. Our vision is a Scotland where we can put an end to the racist, divisive incitement about talk about stopping small boats, and instead we stop the big boats, the very big boats, the nuclear submarines who are infesting the waters of the west of Scotland with warheads who could wipe out an entire population. The Scottish Socialist Party stands for a Scotland that redirects the £220 billion that's squandered on trident weapons of mass extermination into building publicly owned hospitals, publicly owned schools. I don't mean public schools, I mean publicly owned. Quality council housing for rent and a publicly owned national care service fit for the 21st century. We want a Scotland that gives refuge, warmth and the right to work for a decent wage to all the huddled masses fleeing from war, famine and straightforward poverty, to enrich a democratic socialist republic with their cultures and their humanities. That's the kind of Scotland we want. We welcome the fact that the Scottish Government has already called for an end to the war of genocide against the Palestinian people. But we would appeal to the same Scottish Government to stop using public funds to subsidise the profits of the very same arms companies who are making billions a killing out of war, out of slaughter, out of famine in the Middle East. Stop fattening the profits of the warlords. But through the powers of independence, control over defence, over foreign relations, over trade and other things, we want a Scottish Government that can ban all arms sales and the production for war, to send fleets of food ships, medical supplies and reconstruction equipment to the Palestinian people instead of shipments of F-35 stealth bombers and surveillance equipment that hunt down and slaughter men, women and babies. Comrades, we want a Scotland where the defence industry is nationalised under the democratic control of workers and communities, to utilise the skills of those workers to provide the ferries we need, the offshore energy production equipment we need, the hospital equipment we need, production for peace and not for war, truly turning swords into ploughshares, as the book said. And I'll finish with this point. My appeal to you, assembled here today, is go back into your workplaces, your communities, your schools, your colleges. Convince thousands of others of the power of people's power to bring about that future. Use people's power to fight for a democratic, independent, socialist Scotland that can be a beacon to other people for a clean, green, socialist country that puts people and the planet before the profits of the plutocrats. Go forth, build and seize that future that we're trying to create. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Richie.